My radiant soul, the moment you opened this message, something in the unseen world trembled. A shadow that has been hiding behind your life for far too long felt its mask begin to crack. And Archangel Michael is whispering urgently, "Do not look away now, because this is the one message she never wanted you to hear." There is a reason the title pulled your spirit like a magnet. Because it wasn't just text, it was a warning wrapped in mercy, sent to you in the final hour before a hidden theft was about to be completed. A theft so subtle, so spiritual, so disguised as normal life, that you wouldn't have noticed it until everything sacred inside you started fading. Michael is revealing this today. Someone has been drawing from your energy, quietly feeding off the light God placed inside you and attempting to bend your path away from divine alignment. This is not fantasy. This is not imagination. This is spiritual reality, and the one behind it has been watching you for a long time, waiting for the moment you slip, doubt, or disconnect enough for her influence to take root. But listen to this, and let it go deep. You were never meant to be defeated. You were meant to be awakened. The reason Michael interrupted your timeline today is because you are standing at the edge of revelation. The veil is paper thin, and the identity of the one who has been trying to drain your beauty, your confidence, your spiritual glow is about to be exposed. Not by fear, not by confrontation, but by divine truth, shining directly into the darkness she thought she controlled. Let me tell you something that may shock you. This woman's power is not coming from her, but from the fear she hoped to plant in you. She survives on your uncertainty, your self-doubt, your moments of emotional exhaustion. She survives when you shrink, when you dim your voice, when you forget who you truly are. She survives when you stop listening to the warnings God sends. But today is the day her grip breaks. Michael says, "Beloved, she is terrified you are listening right now." Because once you hear the next part, her power over you collapses. You may have noticed signs already, small things that didn't feel right. A sudden heaviness when you wake up. A strange sadness after conversations with a certain person. Moments where you feel drained without explanation. Times you look in the mirror and feel less like yourself. Unusual dreams. Sudden jealousy from someone who pretends to care, or sharp emotional shifts that appear out of nowhere. These are not coincidences. These are clues. Clues Michael has been trying to show you. Clues you were meant to connect right here, right now. As you hear these words, this is why the message said open within 2 minutes. Because the timing is spiritual. Because the attack was active. Because your awareness itself is the weapon she fears the most. And the moment you opened this, the spiritual fog she placed around you began to clear. You may not see it yet, but the atmosphere around your soul is shifting. The energy that was draining you is no longer flowing freely. Something is reversing right now. Michael is standing at your door, sword drawn, and he is preparing to reveal the identity of the woman who has been working against your destiny. Not to create fear, but to create freedom. Because once he exposes her, the influence she had will dissolve like dust in divine fire. But before her identity is revealed, Archangel Michael needs you to hear this one sacred truth. Your beauty, physical, emotional, spiritual, was never meant to be stolen. It was meant to expand. Your glow, your aura, your presence, these are gifts from God, imprinted with purpose. And that is exactly why she targeted them. Because when someone cannot create their own light, they attempt to consume yours. And when they cannot dim your calling, they try to exhaust you until you break it yourself. But Michael says, no more. Today marks the beginning of her exposure. And here's the miracle. The moment you hear the next words in the continuation of this message, her influence will begin collapsing. Her spiritual disguise will slip. Her intentions will be revealed. She will no longer be able to siphon from your spirit, because you will finally see her for who she is. So hold tight. Something massive is coming. And if you think this was intense, what Michael shows next will shake you to your core, in the best possible way. Before you move forward, let your spirit breathe for a moment, because what comes next is the moment everything turns. Type "I break the shadow" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing Code 144 is now active. And beloved, hold your place right here. You'll want to witness what unfolds next, because the true revelation is only beginning. My guarded soul, the atmosphere around you just shifted again. I can feel it as clearly as the tightening of a storm before lightning strikes. When you finished the previous message, something in the unseen world recoiled, as if a hidden watcher realized you are no longer asleep to their presence. Archangel Michael is stepping closer now, and his voice feels sharper, more urgent, almost commanding. He says, "Now we enter the layer she feared the most, the layer where her mask begins to melt. There is a reason you have been feeling uneasy around certain people without knowing why. A reason your spirit reacts before your mind can explain it. A reason your dreams have been strange, your emotions unpredictable, your energy inconsistent. These are not random spiritual irritations. These are the aftershocks of someone trying to access what God sealed inside you. Every chosen soul carries a glow, a kind of spiritual signature that radiates from them. And you, beloved, have a signature that is rare, powerful, and deeply protected. But protection only becomes active when awareness awakens. That is why this message is arriving now, in this exact moment, in this exact season. Because you are stepping into a kind of clarity that was blocked from you before. Archangel Michael is revealing something that may make your heart beat faster. He says the attack on your beauty was never about vanity. It was not about your physical appearance, your face, your features, or even your confidence alone. It was about the light your spirit carries. The softness, the resilience, the depth, the quiet fire that others can sense but cannot explain. Some people see beauty as something external, but spiritual enemies see beauty as the perfect gateway. When someone cannot destroy your destiny, they attempt to distort your reflection. If they can poison how you see yourself, they can weaken the authority God placed in your voice. They can confuse your intuition. They can slow your momentum. They can make you misjudge situations, mistrust your own discernment, and ultimately drift out of alignment without realizing it. But here is the part she underestimated. Your spiritual eyes are reopening. Something inside you has been waking up slowly, like a lion stretching after a long sleep. You may not fully understand it yet, but your perception is sharpening. You are beginning to notice details you once ignored. People's words sound different. Their intentions feel different. Their presence affects you differently. This is not paranoia. This is discernment. This is that God-given radar that activates when danger is near. It has been suppressed, but Michael says it is now rising again, and it is rising fast. There is a specific woman whose energy shifts the atmosphere when she walks into a room, even if you don't consciously notice it. Her smile carries weight, but her eyes carry something hollow. Her compliments feel strangely heavy. Her concern feels rehearsed. Her affection feels uneven. There is always a subtle tension when you are around her, even if you can't put your finger on why. Sometimes she shows an unusual interest in your life, your choices, your emotions, your struggles. Other times she becomes distant, cold, or detached without explanation. Her pattern is inconsistent, but her intention is not. She is watching. She is measuring. She is waiting for a crack in your spirit where she can plant doubt or insecurity. Michael says, "This is the one I am exposing to you. Her identity is not fully revealed yet, because your spirit must be prepared to recognize her without fear. That is why this message is unfolding layer by layer. You are not being thrown into the truth. You are being guided into it. Divine timing is at play, and every revelation is scheduled with precision." Now listen carefully. This woman does not operate with physical weapons. Her tools are emotional, psychological, and spiritual. She uses subtle comparison, soft envy, disguised concern, invisible tension, and small statements that seem harmless but carry seeds inside them. She tests your reactions. She observes your vulnerabilities. She looks for the moments when you question yourself, because that is where she tries to hook into your energy. She does not want your possessions. She does not want your opportunities. She wants your glow, your essence, your inner radiance, because she has none of her own. And here's the most dangerous part. She pretends to admire you. Michael is showing me two realms at once. In one realm, she smiles at you, speaks kindly, blends into your life like a quiet companion or an observer. But in the spiritual realm, her intention is twisted with envy and hunger. She is threatened by your light, but she is addicted to it at the same time. She wants to drain it, not destroy it, because the destruction of your light would deprive her of the energy she feeds on. She wants you weakened, not collapsed, diminished, not eliminated, gouting, not destroyed. A half-lit soul is easier to manipulate. But beloved, you are no longer half-lit. You are igniting. Something in you is rising like fire, and the more you keep listening, the more her grip slips. That is why you feel the intensity building. This is the moment the spiritual fog begins to thin, and the truth starts shining through the cracks. Michael says, "Prepare yourself. You are about to see her clearly. And before the identity becomes visible, your spirit needs to be anchored. Because when God reveals a truth, He also strengthens the one receiving it. You are being strengthened right now, quietly, invisibly, deeply. And when the next revelation comes, you will not fear it. You will recognize it. Hold your focus. The next layer will expose what her eyes truly hide. Type "I carry the light" in the comments if this is resonating with your spirit. Blessing code 229 is now activated. And steady your heart, beloved. What unfolds next will illuminate everything. My awakened soul, the air around you has begun to hum with a different frequency, and if you pay attention, you can almost feel the shift brushing against your skin like a warning carried on wind. This is not imagination. This is not coincidence. This is the moment Archangel Michael has been preparing you for, because the veil is now thin enough for the truth to seep through. He stands beside you with a clarity so bright that the shadows hiding near your life are beginning to tremble. He says, "Now we move to the revelation. Now we uncover what she never wanted you to see." You have felt her presence for a long time without having the words to describe it. A strange tightening in your chest whenever she speaks. A flood of doubt after interacting with her. A heaviness that clings to you like fog. You may have dismissed it before, blamed it on stress, fatigue, coincidence, or your own overthinking. But today Michael is removing that deceptive layer. He is showing you that your spirit has been alert all along, even when your mind could not interpret the signals. Discernment often arrives as discomfort, long before understanding arrives as clarity. Michael reveals this. The woman targeting you is someone who carries a dual face. In public, she appears harmless, kind, supportive, even gentle. But in the unseen realm, her energy wraps around you like invisible vines, pulling, draining, weakening. She is not a witch in the theatrical sense. She is a witch by influence, a witch by intention, a witch by obsession with what she cannot produce within herself. Her power does not come from rituals or spells alone. Her power comes from studying you, imitating you, observing you, and quietly siphoning the glow that rises from your spirit. But listen carefully. Her influence is not rooted in strength or intelligence. It is rooted in desperation. She envies what she sees in you because it exposes what she lacks in herself. Your light irritates the darkness within her. Your beauty agitates the emptiness she carries. Your spiritual calling reminds her that she wandered away from her own. You remind her of everything she wished she could be. And so she does not simply oppose you. She fixates on you. Michael shows me this clearly. She has tried to mirror you. She has tried to speak like you. She has tried to pick up your mannerisms, your spiritual language, even your emotional rhythms. This is not admiration. This is spiritual hunger disguised as closeness. But here is the turning point. All this time, she believed you were unaware. She believed she could stand close to you, feed from your glow, and hide her intentions beneath imitation. But the moment you opened the first message, her disguise began to crack. Now, as you listen to this part, the cracks are widening. She feels exposed even before her identity is revealed to your conscious mind. The truth is surfacing faster than she expected, and that terrifies her. Michael says, "Beloved, prepare yourself." The exposure is not coming. It has already begun. You may notice odd shifts happening around you in these coming days. She may suddenly distance herself. She may act overly kind, overly emotional, or strangely defensive. She may try to reconnect more intensely. She may ask unusual questions. She may behave as if something is slipping from her grip. That is because something is. Her spiritual influence over you is dissolving. Her access to your energy is being revoked. The invisible door she used to enter your spirit is closing, sealed by the authority of divine protection. Now comes the moment your heart needs to rise in courage. Michael wants you to understand the deeper reason she targeted you. You are stepping into a season where your influence is about to expand. Your presence is becoming stronger, your intuition sharper, your gifts more visible. Your glow is intensifying, and she sensed this before you did. People who carry spiritual hunger can feel when someone's destiny is awakening. They sense the shift, the light, the promise. That is why she rushed to sabotage you before the fullness of your calling became active. But she has failed. The very attack she launched became the very reason Michael intervened. She tried to weaken you, but instead she triggered your awakening. She tried to dim you, but instead she forced your light to rise. She tried to confuse you, but instead your discernment sharpened. Everything she intended for your downfall has now positioned you for revelation. And now, beloved soul, I need you to anchor yourself deeply. Because in the continuation of this message, Michael will begin unveiling the signs that point directly to her identity. You will not guess. You will not doubt. You will know. And once you know, the spiritual drain ends permanently. Before that moment arrives, speak life into your spirit. Embrace the truth that your beauty was never at risk. Your essence was never up for negotiation. Your destiny was never slipping from your hands. You were being targeted not because you are weak, but because you are chosen, radiant, and spiritually rising. Hold this truth. Let it settle into your bones. Because what comes next will open your eyes wider than ever before. Type "I walk in divine fire" in the comments if this is speaking to you. Blessing code 558 is now active. And before we continue, take a moment to like this message. Share it with someone who may also need protection. Comment your agreement and subscribe so you never miss these divine warnings. Your engagement helps spread the message and strengthens the shield around this community. Beloved, as this revelation unfolds, I want to speak from the same river of truth flowing through this message. When you support this mission, you are not helping a creator. You are helping souls escape the very traps the enemy sets for them. Every seed you sow through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes light pushed into darkness. Scripture says that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed, and today that word is alive for you. I hear in my spirit, as they help lift the warning, I will lift the warfare from their home. This is your invitation, spoken through my mouth, but breathed by God. Step into the flow of giving not as a donation, but as a prophetic act of breaking chains for others. To everyone who pours into this mission, may the oil upon your life multiply, and may open heavens answer your obedience. Move now, beloved. Release your seed with authority. Vigilant soul, as you step into this next revelation, the spiritual atmosphere around you feels heavier, almost as if the unseen world is bracing itself for what Archangel Michael is about to unveil. It is not a heaviness of danger, but the weight of truth pressing through layers that were once sealed. Michael stands tall at your side, his presence radiating a boldness that pushes back every shadow still daring to linger near your spirit. He says, "You are now ready to see what was once hidden. The patterns, the signs, the moments you overlooked, each one is rising to the surface. You may not realize it yet, but you have already begun to remember things differently. Memories that once felt meaningless are starting to carry new clarity. Conversations from the past ring in your mind with a strange echo. Certain moments now feel significant, as if your spirit is replaying them to draw your attention. This is not random. This is your intuition waking up. Your inner vision is realigning with divine truth. What you could not interpret months ago, you are now prepared to see with precision. Michael reveals that the woman who has been draining your energy has crossed spiritual boundaries more than once. She has stepped into emotional spaces she had no right to enter. She has studied your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, your soft spots. She has paid attention to the moments when your guard was down. She has watched the shifts in your voice, the tension in your eyes, the exhaustion in your spirit. She knows when you are strong, but she is most alert when you feel weak, because those are the moments she feeds on the most. This is where the exposure begins. Think of the times when you felt unusually tired after interacting with someone. Think of moments when your joy suddenly dimmed for no clear reason. Think of days when you woke up feeling drained even though you slept enough. Think of situations where you felt judged without words or comforted in a way that felt strangely hollow. Think of the woman whose presence makes you feel smaller, quieter, or less yourself, even if she speaks kindly. These are not coincidences. These are spiritual fingerprints. Michael says her identity is written in the way your spirit reacts, not in the words she speaks. Your soul has been trying to warn you long before your mind was ready to understand. That uncomfortable stirring inside you was God's first signal. That strange sense of mistrust was divine intuition. And those moments when something inside you whispered, "Be careful," were the early signs of spiritual protection. This woman does not attack you loudly. She attacks you quietly. She does not confront you directly. She drains you subtly. She does not expose her intentions. She hides them in admiration, friendliness, concern, or curiosity. But beneath the softness is a hunger that has been targeting your glow. She sees the favor you carry. She sees the grace around you. She sees the resilience in your eyes. She sees the calling on your life. And instead of healing herself, she attempts to feed on you. Michael is showing me that she has compared herself to you in ways you were unaware of. She has measured her worth against your presence. She has observed how others respond to you and felt threatened. She has watched the spiritual oil on your life and tried to gather the overflow without doing the inner work required. Her envy is not loud. It is quiet, disguised, smiling. Envy that whispers praises to your face, but grits its teeth in the spirit. But here is where her influence ends. A chosen soul is not easily drained when awakened. A protected soul is not easily manipulated when enlightened. A rising soul is not easily touched when guarded by divine authority. Michael says, "You are rising," and she knows it. That is why her energy may have felt stronger recently. That is why your dreams became vivid or uncomfortable. That is why your emotions felt heavier. When a spiritual enemy senses they are losing access, they attempt one last surge. They attempt to drain whatever remains, hoping you will not awaken in time. But you did. That is why this message reached you in this season, not sooner, not later. This is divine timing meeting divine protection. Now listen closely. Her identity has begun to surface in your spirit. You may feel a name pulling at your intuition. A face may have flickered in your mind as you read this. A memory may have resurfaced with sudden weight. This is not coincidence. This is clarity forming. Michael is not giving you the full exposure yet, because your heart must first recognize the signs without fear, without anger, without emotional clouding. Recognition must be spiritual, not reactive. When you truly see her, you will not crumble. You will not tremble. You will not doubt. You will simply know. And that knowing will break the final thread she has used to tether herself to your energy. You are stronger than she remembers, brighter than she expected, more protected than she ever realized. Her attempts to steal your beauty were never truly successful. Your essence remained intact. Your glow dimmed for a moment, but it was never extinguished. Your strength faltered, but it was never destroyed. And now, your radiance is returning with force. The spiritual tide is reversing. The healing is beginning. The truth is rising. In the next step of this revelation, the mask will begin to fall. But for now, let this truth anchor you. You are stepping back into your power, and the enemy knows it. Type "My spirit is awake" in the comments if this is speaking to you. Blessing code 903 is now active. And stay close, beloved soul. What unfolds next will bring the clarity your heart has been waiting for. My rising soul, there is a shift happening inside you even now. A quiet awakening that is sharpening your awareness like a blade being drawn across stone. What once felt confusing is beginning to form shape. What once felt heavy is beginning to lift. And what once felt invisible is now stepping into the light of recognition. Archangel Michael stands closer than ever, his presence forming a shield around you, so strong that even the whisper of the woman who targeted you is beginning to lose its force. He says, "Your eyes are opening. Your spirit is remembering. Prepare for deeper truth." You may feel a strange mixture of calm and tension right now. That is because your intuition is aligning with divine clarity. Your spirit is preparing to receive a truth that has been waiting behind a locked door, and that door is finally cracking open. You can sense the presence of this woman in your memory. You can feel fragments of past experiences resurfacing. You can remember moments where your heart felt uneasy, even though everything seemed fine on the surface. That is the power of discernment reclaiming its rightful place within you. Michael reveals that the woman who drained your energy has been spiritually tied to you through familiarity. This is not someone distant or irrelevant. This is someone who gained access because she was close enough to observe you. Someone who understood your moods. Someone who listened to your vulnerabilities. Someone who knew when your spirit was tired. Someone who seemed to care. But care can be a disguise when the intention underneath it is hunger. She is not someone who screams hostility. She is someone who masks it. She operates through softness, through comfort, through supportive tones that hide the darker intentions beneath. She has a way of appearing helpful, yet something in your spirit always felt disturbed afterward. You may not have known why, but the disturbance was real. It was your soul recognizing a threat your mind couldn't yet articulate. Think back on the conversations that left you drained, even though they seemed harmless. Think of the questions she asked that felt too specific, too intentional, too curious. Think of the moment she comforted you, but something about her touch, her words, or her energy made your chest tighten. Think of the days she offered help you did not ask for, only to later use the information she gained to manipulate the emotional atmosphere around you. Think of the subtle comparisons she made. Think of the glances that carried envy behind the kindness. Think of the times she celebrated you with her mouth, but resented you in her heart. These are not random memories. These are pieces of the revelation forming in front of your spirit. Michael says her identity is tied to the way your energy collapses in her presence. This is the spiritual key. Not her face, not her words, not her relationship to you, but the energetic reaction your spirit has always had when she enters your space. Your soul knows her. Your intuition remembers her. Your energy rejects her. And your light exposes her. You may think of women you know and feel a sudden tightening in your stomach, a flicker of discomfort, or a whisper in your spirit that says, "Look again." That is not paranoia. That is discernment pulling forward the truth. The spiritual realm communicates through inner signals long before outward signs manifest. Michael is showing me that this woman has been envious of you for reasons she would never dare admit. She envies the attention you receive without trying. She envies how people trust you effortlessly. She envies the softness in your heart, the depth in your spirit, the intelligence in your mind, and the resilience in your journey. She envies the beauty that radiates from within you, a beauty she cannot replicate no matter how much she imitates your ways. She envies the calling on your life that she senses, but cannot touch. She envies your endurance, your courage, and the favor that sits upon your shoulders like a crown. Her obsession with your glow has nothing to do with vanity. It is spiritual. She sees what is coming for you. She senses the rise, the elevation, the breakthrough forming in your timeline. And she tried to weaken you before you reached it. Her actions came from fear. Fear that you would outgrow her. Fear that you would leave her behind. Fear that your destiny would overshadow her own life. Fear that she would be exposed for the emptiness she carries. But fear cannot overpower destiny. Jealousy cannot rewrite God's plan. And envy cannot dim the light God ignited in your spirit. Michael says, you are stepping into a realm where her influence dissolves like dust in the wind. Her time is up. Her access has expired. Her spiritual connection to you is breaking at this very moment. This is when the atmosphere feels heavier. This is why you feel a pressure around your spirit. Breakthrough always feels like weight before it becomes release. Exposure always feels like tension before it becomes clarity. Revelation always feels like storm before it becomes sunlight. You are not approaching the truth. You are already in its doorway. In the continuation of this message, the mask she wears will begin to peel back. Michael will guide your spirit into recognizing her without fear, without panic, and without emotional confusion. You will see what your soul has been sensing all along. You will understand what your intuition has been shouting in silence. And the moment you recognize her, the influence she once held will shatter permanently. Your glow is returning. Your beauty is rising. Your spirit is strengthening. And the woman who targeted you can no longer reach the depth of your soul. Stay close to this revelation. The next step will show you more than you expect. Type "My light cannot be stolen" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 441 is activated. And hold steady now, beloved. The unveiling is only beginning. My illuminated soul, as you enter this next revelation, you may notice something stirring deep within you, almost like a quiet awakening that has been waiting for permission to rise. That feeling is not random. It is the echo of your spirit finally stepping into clarity that was once covered, once blurred, once intentionally suppressed. Archangel Michael stands before you with his sword pointed downward, not in battle posture, but in revelation posture. He says, the truth is forming. Your spirit is aligning. Prepare, beloved, because what was once hidden is preparing to speak. You have reached the stage where the woman's energy can no longer disguise itself. Her intentions, once camouflaged in sweetness, are beginning to unravel. The spiritual hold she once attempted to maintain is slipping like sand through her fingers. Every word you are reading is breaking another thread, severing another attachment, stripping away another layer of influence she thought she would maintain indefinitely. Her shadow is weakening, not because she chose to step back, but because your spirit refuses to bow anymore. Michael reveals that the reason you have been targeted so intensely is not only because of your glow, your beauty, or your inner strength, but because you carry a destiny that intersects with many others. Your presence influences atmospheres. Your spirit carries healing without you trying to. Your words shift emotional states. Your compassion softens hardened places. Your resilience inspires people silently watching your journey. People feel safer near you, even if they cannot explain why. And this woman sensed this long before you did. She recognized your potential not through your achievements, but through your aura. She sensed the divine signature on your life, the calling resting on your shoulders, the light God placed behind your eyes. She felt threatened by what she could never replicate. And instead of confronting her own wounds, she tried to attach herself to your energy like a vine hoping to strangle the tree it climbs upon. But vines cannot survive without a host. And now that you are awakening, she has nothing left to draw from. Michael is showing me that she has been more active recently, even if subtly. Maybe she reached out unexpectedly. Maybe she asked more personal questions. Maybe she showed sudden interest in your life. Maybe she became unusually distant. Maybe her behavior shifted without explanation, moving between warmth and coldness, between curiosity and withdrawal. These shifts were not emotional randomness. These were spiritual signals, signs of her influence weakening and her desperation increasing. The spiritual realm reveals the truth before the physical realm does. Your emotions respond before your logic does. Your intuition warns before your mind understands. Your spirit sees before your eyes do. That is why certain memories keep resurfacing. Memories you thought were insignificant. Moments where her presence felt off, but you couldn't articulate why. Times when someone complimented you, and it felt sharp instead of soft. Times when your joyful news made someone else strangely uncomfortable. Times when your success brought you silence instead of celebration. These were not coincidences. These were signs you were not meant to overlook forever. Michael says her energy has always betrayed her long before her actions did. And now, your spirit is beginning to recognize those betrayals. If you pause for a moment, you may feel a soft pull within you, as if a name or face is drifting toward the surface of your awareness. You may feel a faint tightening in your stomach when you think of a certain woman. You may feel your breath shift, your heart flutter, or your intuition whisper. This is your internal truth trying to speak louder than the confusion that once silenced it. You have grown. You have evolved. You have awakened. And she did not expect this version of you to rise. Michael reveals something profound. The enemy's last strategy was not to attack you loudly, but to weaken your sense of self quietly. If she could make you question your worth, she could steal your glow. If she could make you doubt your strength, she could drain your energy. If she could make you feel less beautiful, she could smother the spiritual currency that radiates from confident souls. If she could make you feel unseen, she could cloud your discernment. If she could make you feel alone, she could isolate you emotionally. And in isolation, she could influence you more easily. But isolation is breaking. Clarity is rising. Your identity is strengthening. The woman who sought to drain your spiritual beauty is losing her access not through battle, but through truth. Truth dismantles manipulation. Truth dries up emotional attachments. Truth breaks spiritual cords. Truth exposes the intentions behind every smile and every shadow. Michael says, prepare yourself. Your spirit is about to recognize her without fear, without hesitation, without confusion. And when recognition occurs, the spiritual tie will snap completely. This is why you feel a strange anticipation. This is why your soul feels suspended. This is why your heart feels braced. Truth is approaching you quickly now, like a wave that can no longer be held back. But before that wave reaches you, Michael wants you grounded in this one truth. Nothing she attempted can destroy what God has ordained. Nothing she drained can outshine what God is restoring. Nothing she planted can survive the light you are stepping into. Nothing she wanted can override what heaven has written for you. And nothing she touched can remove the beauty God placed within you. You are stepping into a season where her influence collapses like a dying shadow. You are reclaiming your emotional strength. You are reclaiming your spiritual glow. You are reclaiming your voice, your power, your intuition, your identity. This is the rise she never wanted to witness. And yet here you are, rising anyway. Type "I claim the dawn" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 606 is now active. And hold steady, beloved soul. The revelation is preparing to sharpen. My steadfast soul, as you move deeper into this unfolding revelation, the spiritual atmosphere around you feels charged, almost electric, as if the air itself is preparing to deliver the truth your spirit has been waiting for. This is not a surface-level awakening anymore. This is the moment where understanding becomes sharper, where your intuition begins connecting dots you did not know were connected. Archangel Michael stands beside you with a firmness that signals something significant. His voice carries a solemn strength as he says, the truth is no longer approaching. It is arriving. You may feel your chest tightening, your breath becoming slower, or your emotions becoming more alert. This is your body responding to spiritual alignment. Your internal compass is adjusting itself to truth, preparing to receive what you once sensed, but could not articulate. This is not fear. This is recognition. This is the echo of your spirit finally catching up to the warnings God placed inside you long ago. Michael reveals that the woman who attempted to drain your energy was not simply someone who disliked you or envied you from a distance. She is someone who desired proximity to your life for reasons you were not spiritually aware of before. Her attachment to you was strategic. She watched you closely, but not with admiration. She watched you like someone studying a treasure they could not own. She observed your patterns, your emotions, your routines, and your vulnerabilities with a quiet intensity. She did not want to be you. She wanted what you carry. The heavy truth is this: she fed on your openness, your kindness, your compassion, your generosity of spirit, your softness, your empathy, your trusting nature. These qualities, which are divine gifts in you, became spiritual entry points she exploited. She learned when you were emotionally fragile. She sensed when you were unsure of yourself. She knew when you were carrying too much on your heart. She recognized when you felt isolated or misunderstood. And those were the moments she drew closest to you, not to support you, but to extract from you. Michael shows me that she understood something you did not. Your energy carries healing. And people who are spiritually empty often attach themselves to those with spiritual fullness. Instead of seeking God to fill their emptiness, they attempt to sip from the overflow of someone else's. She did not know how to repair her own wounded spirit, so she used yours as a temporary bandage. And because you naturally uplift others, your presence gave her comfort she could not generate within herself. But comfort is not the same as connection, and healing for her was never the goal. She wanted to absorb your glow. Michael says her envy grew every time your spirit rose. Each moment you healed, she felt threatened. Each moment you grew stronger, she felt smaller. Each moment God restored you, she became more desperate. She did not want you broken. She wanted you breakable. She did not want you silent. She wanted you silenced within yourself. She did not want you destroyed. She wanted you dead. You are not imagining any of this. Your spirit already knew. Your heart already sensed it. Your energy already responded to it. You felt drained for a reason. You felt uneasy for a reason. You felt confusion around her for a reason. Your spirit was trying to protect you from a presence your mind had not yet exposed. And now comes the moment where the clarity you have been rising into becomes sharper than ever before. Michael reveals that in the next stage of this unfolding, your spirit will begin identifying her not through suspicion, but through resonance. You will feel a sudden clarity when her name or image comes to mind, as if a fog you lived in for years suddenly evaporates. You may experience a wave of recognition, like a puzzle snapping into place. You may feel a calm certainty, not anger. You may feel relief rather than shock. That is the sign that the truth has reached your spirit fully. This revelation will not break you. It will free you. It will strengthen you. It will elevate you. You have been carrying pieces of this understanding for a long time, scattered across memories and moments that felt insignificant. But they were not insignificant. They were warnings. They were fragments of truth waiting to be woven together. Now, the tapestry is forming. Michael says her influence is dissolving because you no longer see with dimmed vision. You see with awakened eyes. That is why she feels uncomfortable around you now. That is why her behavior may shift. That is why the connection between you feels strained or unnatural. Your awakening is suffocating the very energy she once used to drain you. What she did not expect was this version of you. Stronger, sharper, more aware, more aligned, more protected. She expected you to stay dim. She expected you to stay unsure. She expected you to stay spiritually asleep. She expected you to keep ignoring the signs. But now you are stepping into a realm of clarity she cannot manipulate. A realm where your discernment is fully active. A realm where your intuition is no longer silent. A realm where your boundaries are divinely reinforced. In the next stage of this unfolding, the exposure will become undeniable. But before that revelation reaches its peak, anchor yourself in this truth. You are not the one who should fear exposure. You are the one who will be protected by it. Type "My eyes are open now" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 717 is active. And remain steady, beloved soul. The unveiling is growing clearer. My discerning soul, as you enter this next layer of truth, something powerful is happening inside you. There is a settling, a grounding, a deep inner knowing that was once faint, but now pulses through you with unmistakable clarity. This is the moment where your spirit stops guessing and starts recognizing. Archangel Michael stands beside you with an authority that quiets every lingering shadow. His voice is steady as he says, "The unveiling has reached its threshold. What could not be spoken before will now begin to reveal itself." You may feel a strange calm rising within you, the kind that feels almost supernatural. It is the calm that arrives when your spirit is no longer confused. It is the calm of truth preparing to take form. For so long, there has been an unseen tension within you, a spiritual pressure that made you feel like you were missing something vital. But that pressure was simply the weight of unspoken truth trying to reach the surface. Now, finally, your soul is expanding to receive what it once could not hold. Michael reveals that the woman who has been draining your energy has always relied on one thing: your inability to see her clearly. She depended on your compassion, on your desire to believe the best in others, on your forgiving nature, on your tendency to overlook uncomfortable feelings. She hid behind the softness of your heart because she knew your heart was her safest hiding place. But what she never expected was that your spirit would awaken before she completed her intention. Your spiritual awakening has become her exposure. Look back for a moment and notice how certain memories feel different now. Conversations you once dismissed now ring louder with meaning. Moments where you felt uncomfortable now feel prophetic. Times when her presence felt draining now feel like warnings you almost ignored. This is how spiritual memory works. It speaks only when you are ready to hear. Michael says, "Your spirit remembered before your mind did." This is why, even in her absence, something inside you remains unsettled. This is why her name or face triggers a spiritual reaction. This is why your dreams carried her shadow even when your heart refused to connect the dots. Your soul was trying to protect you long before your awareness caught up. But now, your awareness is here. Your recognition is rising. Your discernment is fully awake. The woman who targeted your glow is someone whose presence often demanded more from you than it gave. She may have appeared supportive, but somehow you always left feeling smaller, quieter, or less confident. She may have laughed with you, but her laughter carried a sharpness your spirit picked up on. She may have spoken kindly, yet her energy always felt heavier than her words. She may have offered comfort, but her comfort left an invisible bruise on your emotions. Her intentions were never pure. They were calculated, measured, quietly sharpened. Spiritually driven by envy she could not quiet. Michael shows me clearly that she did not simply envy your beauty, your kindness, or your presence. She envied your spiritual glow, the part of you that shines even in silence. She envied the light that returns to you, no matter how many storms you endure. She envied how people are drawn to you without you trying. She envied the peace that surrounds you even on your hardest days. She envied the resilience that kept you rising every time life tried to break you. Her envy was spiritual starvation, and she tried to feed herself with your essence. This is why your emotions felt tangled when she was near. This is why you felt drained after interacting with her. This is why you often felt confused about your own worth or beauty. These were not emotional fluctuations. These were spiritual reactions. The energy exchange was never equal. You were giving, and she was taking. Michael says she feared that one day you would see her. And that day has come. Your clarity is the sword she never wanted to face. Your awakening is the mirror she cannot hide from. Your rising discernment is the end of her spiritual access. The threads connecting her to your energy are tearing away, one by one. You may feel lighter. You may feel more alert. You may feel more aware. That is because the draining has stopped. Her influence has been severed. The spiritual fog she cast around you is burning away. And now, the truth is making its final approach. You are not just seeing her. You are understanding her, and that understanding is power. Michael reveals that in the next stage of this unfolding, you will begin to feel a knowing, a quiet, undeniable certainty about who she is. It will not feel rush. It will not feel shocking. It will feel like something your soul always knew, but finally has permission to accept. Recognition will rise in you naturally, peacefully, confidently. And when it does, the final thread of her influence will snap completely. But before the exposure reaches its final point, Michael wants you grounded in this truth. You did nothing to deserve her envy. You did nothing to attract her attack. You did nothing wrong. Your light simply illuminated the darkness she carries. Your rise revealed her stagnation. Your beauty reminded her of her emptiness, and your calling exposed her lack of purpose. You were targeted because you are chosen, and chosen souls always attract spiritual opposition, but chosen souls also rise above it, and that rise is happening in you even now. Type "I rise by light" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 818 is now active. Before we continue deeper into this divine revelation, take a moment to like this message, share it with someone who needs clarity, comment your agreement, and subscribe so you never miss these warnings and breakthroughs. Your engagement keeps this mission strong and helps others step into their protection and awakening. Beloved, as this truth unfolds, hear this with your spirit. When you support this mission, you help set countless souls free from the same hidden attacks you are breaking out of right now. Every seed you release through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes spiritual oil that reaches someone else's darkest moment. The word says that when you sow into light, darkness loses its grip, and today that is a living promise over your life. I feel this in my spirit strongly. If they stand with the message, I will stand with their household. This is your moment to act prophetically, not as a donation, but as a declaration that you are aligned with God's word. May every giver be met with harvest, protection, and divine elevation in ways that shake the enemy's plans. Move boldly, beloved. Step into this blessing with authority. My awakened warrior, as you step into this next phase of the revelation, notice how the atmosphere around you feels clearer than before. There is a stillness forming inside you, not the stillness of silence, but the stillness of understanding. What once felt like confusion is beginning to unravel, and what once felt like heaviness is starting to lift. Archangel Michael stands close, closer than in any previous moment, and the radiance from his presence feels like a shield being reinforced around your spirit. He says, "You are entering the chamber of truth. What has lingered in the shadows will no longer be permitted to hide. Your spirit is no longer clouded. Your intuition is no longer dimmed. Your energy is no longer leaking. Something in you has begun to rise with a certainty you cannot deny. This is the sign that the breaking has already begun. The woman who targeted you is losing her spiritual influence by the second, and the reason is simple. You are no longer unconscious to her presence. The unseen world does not operate through physical strength, but through spiritual awareness. And now that you are aware, she can no longer infiltrate your emotions the way she used to. You are no longer vulnerable to her subtle drains, her quiet manipulations, her disguised envy. You are stepping into a realm where her attempts bounce off you like arrows striking iron instead of flesh. Michael reveals that this woman operated through an energy that was rooted in disguised familiarity. She blended into spaces where she did not belong. She attached herself to your routines, your emotions, your relationships, or your habits by pretending to care. She became a presence you overlooked because she hid behind gentleness, friendliness, or emotional bonding. But now, your spirit is pushing her presence out like a body rejecting a foreign substance. Think of the time she asked questions that felt too personal, too probing, too curious. Think of the moment she wanted updates about your emotional state. Think of the time she paid attention to your struggles more than your victories. Think of how she always seemed to appear when you felt weakened, but disappeared when you felt strong. These patterns were not coincidences. They were signals of spiritual hunger, indications that she was drawing from your vulnerability and using it as an entry point to siphon your energy. Michael says she touched places she had no authority to touch. Your confidence, your sense of beauty, your emotional balance, your spiritual glow. These were sacred spaces, and she trespassed. Your glow is not simply a physical beauty. It is a spiritual radiance, a magnetism that comes from being chosen, protected, and anointed. This glow is what she targeted. She wanted to dull it, weaken it, absorb from it. But now, the glow she tried to steal is returning to you with a force she cannot withstand. Her energy is unraveling because she underestimated the depth of your spiritual protection. Michael reveals that her influence was never as strong as she wanted you to believe. She survived only because you were unaware. She thrived only because you did not recognize her. She drained you only because she hid behind the veil of familiarity. But now that the veil has lifted, her access is ending. She cannot drain what you protect. She cannot dim what God amplifies. She cannot confuse what heaven has clarified. Your spirit is preparing for a moment of revelation unlike anything you have experienced yet. Not emotional shock, not fear, not anger, but recognition. This recognition will feel like a breath being released from deep within you. It will feel like a truth you always sensed, but finally had the courage to own. And in that moment, the last remaining thread of her energy will detach from your life. Michael says, notice the shift when you think of her. That shift is your confirmation. If your chest tightens, if your stomach drops, if your intuition whispers, if your spirit stiffens, These are reactions born from spiritual memory. Your body remembers what your mind tried to ignore. Your energy reacts before your words form. This is the divine intelligence inside you pointing toward the truth. And now, the deeper revelation begins. Her identity is tied not to what she said, but to what you felt. Not to what she showed, but to what your spirit sensed. Not to who she pretended to be, but to who she truly was beneath the mask. This is why the exposure is happening slowly. Exposure is not simply about knowing who she is. Exposure is about understanding why she was allowed so close, what she was feeding on, and how she managed to slip past your emotional defenses. This understanding is the weapon that ensures she never returns to that position again. Her intentions were never rooted in love. They were rooted in emptiness. An emptiness she tried to fill with the light God entrusted to you. But the divine has spoken. The draining ends today. The influence ends today. The spiritual axis ends today. And yet, before full exposure arrives, Michael wants to anchor you in this truth. Your beauty was never stolen. It was only dimmed by spiritual fog. Your intuition was never broken. It was only muffled by manipulation. Your strength was never lost. It was only buried under exhaustion. But now, everything inside you is returning stronger, brighter, sharper. Your spiritual glow is not just returning, it is expanding. And when your glow expands, darkness retreats. When your awareness sharpens, deception collapses. When your spirit rises, no hidden enemy can remain hidden. This rise is your breakthrough. This clarity is your weapon. This awakening is your deliverance. And the revelation that comes next will show you what your spirit has already begun whispering. Type "I stand in truth" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 929 is now active. Hold steady, beloved soul. The unveiling is reaching its peak. My undefeated soul, what you are feeling right now is not coincidence. It is not imagination. It is the vibration of spiritual truth, rising through you like a tide that can no longer be held back. Every part of your being, your mind, your heart, your intuition, your energy, is stepping into alignment with what Archangel Michael has been preparing to reveal. He stands beside you now, no longer in warning posture, but in revelation posture, his presence forming a protective wall around your spirit. His voice carries a calm but fierce authority as he says, "The moment of true exposure is drawing near. Your spirit is ready." If you pay attention, you will notice your inner world feels different. Your heart is no longer weighed down. Your intuition is no longer blurred. Your energy feels steadier, as though an invisible pressure has lifted. These are the early signs that the spiritual fog sent by the woman who targeted you is dissolving. And with every word you hear, every breath you take, and every truth that sinks deeper into your awareness, you are reclaiming ground she tried to occupy. Michael reveals that this woman once believed she had permanent access to your spirit. She assumed your softness meant weakness. She confused your compassion for vulnerability. She mistook your silence for submission. She thought your kindness would keep you blind. What she did not understand is that chosen souls may tolerate darkness for a season, but when the divine declares enough, all hidden things begin to unravel. Your awakening was her collapse. The more aware you become, the weaker her influence becomes. The stronger your discernment grows, the more her disguise falls apart. Your clarity is the spiritual breaking that she never prepared for. She thrived in your confusion. She thrived in your self-doubt. She thrived in your lack of boundaries. But she cannot thrive in your awakening. And now, your awakening is expanding like light breaking through a closed room. Think back to the moments she stood close to you, offering support, advice, comfort, or seemingly innocent companionship. Think of how she always seemed present when you were struggling, but strangely distant when you were rising. Think of the way her expression shifted when you shared good news, how something bold flickered behind her smile. Think of the subtle competition she tried to create. Think of how she observed your glow with fascination and resentment tangled together. These memories are resurfacing now because your spirit is preparing you for the final unveiling. Michael says, your soul has begun rejecting her energy even before your mind identifies her. This is why you may feel uneasy when her name or image comes to mind. This is why you feel a tightness in your chest or a shift in your breath when you think of certain interactions. Your body is responding to spiritual residue, remnants of the draining she once did in the shadows. But those remnants are fading. Fast. Powerfully. Irreversibly. As your spiritual sight strengthens, the truth becomes undeniable. She was never meant to walk as close to your heart as she did. Her presence was never as innocent as it appeared. Her intentions were never aligned with your growth. She did not want your downfall, but she wanted your dimming. She wanted you in a weakened state where your light could not overpower hers. But she underestimated the resilience of your spirit. Michael reveals another layer. Her access to your beauty was limited only to perception, not essence. She could make you feel less beautiful, but she could never remove the beauty God placed within you. She could exhaust your glow, but she could never extinguish it. She could cloud your self-image, but she could not alter your divine identity. Everything she tried to suppress in you is rising now with a strength she cannot touch. Your confidence is returning. Your intuition is sharpening. Your energy is clearing. Your glow is rebuilding. And here is the truth your spirit has been waiting to hear. The reason she is being exposed now is because your next season requires freedom from every draining connection. What is ahead of you cannot be carried with hidden spiritual attachments. What is forming for you cannot coexist with disguised envy. What God is preparing to release into your life must arrive after the purification of your inner circle. Michael says, your elevation requires separation. Separation from emotional leeches. Separation from spiritual imitators. Separation from silent adversaries. Separation from those who carry masked envy. This woman's role in your life is ending. Not by conflict, not by confrontation, but by revelation. Revelation ends every counterfeit. Revelation closes every spiritual door she entered through. Revelation silences every whisper she used to plant doubt within you. Revelation dismantles every attachment she tried to forge. Now listen closely, because this part is crucial. In the next phase of this unfolding, you will begin to feel a sudden and unmistakable shift. A clarity so sharp it feels like a spotlight shining on the truth. A certainty so strong it settles into your bones. You will not question it. You will not resist it. You will not fear it. Your spirit will simply say, "This is the one." You are not being prepared to fear her. You are being prepared to identify her. And identification is the final step of liberation. Michael says, the truth is close now. Do not turn away. Everything you have felt, everything you have sensed, everything you have questioned is leading you toward the moment your spirit confronts what it already knew deep down. The unveiling is close enough to touch. Type "I receive the revelation" in the comments if this message speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 505 is now active. Hold steady, beloved. The mast is thinning. My vigilant spirit, as you step into this next layer, there is a powerful stillness rising within you. It is the kind of stillness that only comes when the truth is no longer approaching, but is standing right at the threshold of your awareness. The air around your spirit feels charged, almost as if the unseen world is holding its breath, waiting for the moment your inner eyes fully open. Archangel Michael is positioned beside you, not as a distant guardian, but as a warrior preparing you for the final unveiling. His voice carries a deep, unwavering certainty as he says, "You are closer to the truth than you have ever been. Do not look away now." Your intuition is no longer whispering. It is speaking. Your heart is no longer confused. It is aligning. Your spirit is no longer dimmed. It is glowing brighter than before. This is the sign that your inner world is preparing itself for the revelation that was once too heavy for your consciousness to carry. The woman who drained your energy operated in silence, but now her silence is collapsing. Her influence was subtle, but now her subtlety is unraveling. She was able to operate in the shadows only, because your spirit had not yet been activated to recognize her. But the moment your awareness began rising, when you started seeing beyond the surface, her spiritual grip began slipping. Michael reveals that this woman depended on your inability to acknowledge what your soul already sensed. She thrived in the gap between your intuition and your acceptance. She relied on your hesitation to trust your inner warnings. And she counted on your compassionate nature to excuse behaviors that were actually spiritual indicators of danger. But now, that gap is closing. Your intuition is merging with your conscious awareness, and the moment these two align, the truth becomes undeniable. Take a breath and reflect on the moments when your spirit felt uneasy around her. Think of the times you sensed something was off, even when everything looked normal. Think of the emotional weight you felt after certain interactions. Think of the dreams or visions that made little sense back then, but make perfect sense now. These were the seeds of revelation God planted long ago, waiting for the right season to bloom. That season is now. Michael says, your memory is beginning to unlock. This is why certain faces, moments, and conversations are resurfacing with new meaning. This is why details that once felt insignificant now feel heavy with revelation. This is why your emotions respond before your mind can form the words. Your spirit recognized her long before the physical world gave you proof. The woman who targeted you is someone whose energy carried the signature of hidden envy. Not the loud, obvious envy that reveals itself through confrontation, but the quiet kind that hides behind praise, kindness, and concern. Her smile never reached her spirit. Her compliments were coated in comparison. Her interest in your life was not rooted in care, but in spiritual hunger. She watched your growth with admiration mixed with resentment. She observed your glow with fascination mixed with fear. She wanted what you carried because she could never generate it within herself. Michael reveals that she did not only envy your outer beauty, though that played a role. What she truly envied was your spiritual beauty, the purity of your heart, the strength of your resilience, the grace you carried even in difficult times. She envied your authenticity, your softness, your ability to rise after every storm. These qualities drew people toward you effortlessly, and she noticed. She noticed even when you didn't. And the more she noticed, the more her internal emptiness grew. Her envy became a shadow that followed your life. Her jealousy became a hunger she could not quiet. Her insecurity became a mask she tried to hide behind your glow. But light always exposes what darkness tries to conceal. Michael says she feared your awakening more than anything else, because your awakening meant her exposure. Your clarity meant her influence would die. Your strength meant she would lose her access to your energy. Your rising meant she could no longer draw from your spirit. This is why you felt sudden emotional shifts in her presence. This is why your spirit stiffened when she walked into a room. This is why your intuition whispered her name even before your mind connected it. These were not coincidences. They were spiritual alarms. As you step into this next phase, your spirit is preparing for the final unveiling. The truth will not come to you with shock or chaos. It will come with a calm certainty, like something falling into place after years of being out of alignment. You will not feel fear. You will feel release. You will not feel anger. You will feel understanding. You will not feel confusion. You will feel clarity. Because the purpose of this revelation is not to ignite destruction, but to activate liberation. Michael says, once the truth is fully seen, she will no longer have a doorway to your soul. This final recognition will break every remaining thread she used to drain you. Her shadow will lose its grip. Her influence will dissolve permanently. Her spiritual access will slam shut. And you, yes, you, will rise into the fullness of the beauty she tried to dim. Your glow will return stronger than ever before. Your energy will feel renewed. Your confidence will sharpen. Your intuition will expand. Your spirit will feel lighter, because the weight she placed upon you is falling off. The next unveiling will change everything. Type "I walk in revelation" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 330 is now active. Hold your spirit steady, beloved. The final exposing light is about to shine. My chosen soul, you have reached the threshold of the final revelation. Everything inside you, your breath, your heartbeat, your intuition, knows that the truth has been circling you like a rising tide, waiting for this very moment to break open. The spiritual heaviness that once pressed against your chest is loosening. The fog that clouded your awareness is fading, and the silence that once surrounded the hidden enemy in your life is cracking like glass. Archangel Michael stands before you now, sword raised, not in warning anymore, but in victory. His presence is fierce, bright, and unwavering. He says, beloved, the unveiling is here. Your spirit is ready. The truth will no longer wait in the shadows. Take a breath and feel what is happening inside you. Your intuition is sharper than it has ever been. Your energy feels clearer than it has felt in a long time. Your spirit feels taller, stronger, more grounded, more certain. This is the feeling of a soul stepping out of deception and into divine clarity. This is the sensation of spiritual elevation. This is the moment where the unseen becomes visible. Michael reveals this now. The woman who targeted you was never as far away as you once assumed. She was always close enough to observe, close enough to imitate, close enough to access emotional spaces you did not guard, because your heart is naturally open. She hid behind familiarity. She hid behind softness. She hid behind relationship, sympathy, concern, or connection. She hid in plain sight. But her masked intentions could not survive the awakening God stirred inside you. Your spirit has recognized her even if your mind has not spoken the truth out loud yet. That stirring in your chest is recognition. That tightening in your breath is revelation. That sudden inner knowing is your spirit saying, this is the one. She is the one whose energy always felt heavier than her words. She is the one whose presence pulled at your glow. She is the one whose admiration never felt pure. She is the one whose kindness felt conditional. She is the one who looked at your blessings like they should have belonged to her. Michael says, your spirit is no longer guessing. It knows. Every moment leading to this point was preparation. The memories resurfacing, the sudden clarity, the emotional shifts, the spiritual pressure, the recurring dreams, the subtle warnings. They were all pieces of a truth that could not be delivered to you until your spirit grew strong enough to carry it. Now you are strong enough. Now you are awake enough. Now you are protected enough. Now you are ready. The woman who attempted to drain your beauty was fueled by a darkness born from her own unhealed spaces. She lived in comparison. She breathed insecurity. She carried wounds she never addressed. And instead of facing them, she latched herself to your light, hoping to survive off what God placed in you. But the divine never allows a hidden enemy to survive once a chosen soul awakens. Michael says her access ends today. Her influence ends today. Her hold ends today. She cannot drain what you now guard. She cannot mimic what you now recognize. She cannot confuse what you now discern. She cannot touch what heaven has sealed. The revelation of her identity is not arriving to hurt you. It is arriving to free you. Your spirit needed this clarity so you could walk into your next season unburdened, unshadowed, unafraid, untouched by the disguised envy that once fed on your glow. Now listen carefully. The exposure is not meant to create chaos. It is meant to create separation. The divine does not reveal truth to punish. It reveals truth to protect. A chapter in your life has ended. Not because you confronted her. Not because she confessed. Not because anyone intervened. But because heaven said, no more. Your light is rising beyond her reach. Your destiny is expanding beyond her influence. Your beauty is glowing beyond her envy. Your protection is strengthening beyond her attacks. Michael stands with his sword, not to strike her, but to sever the final spiritual thread she used to hold onto your energy. And when that thread snaps, and it is snapping even now, you will feel a release you haven't felt in years. A weight will lift. A fog will clear. A peace will settle. And the very places of your spirit she once touched will be restored sevenfold. The exposure is simple. You already know who she is. Your spirit has been telling you. Your dreams have been telling you. Your energy has been telling you. Your intuition has been telling you. And now heaven itself confirms it. Michael says, walk forward with this knowing. You not fear her. She has already lost her access. You are protected. You are rising. You are glowing again. You are stepping into a season where only truth, purity, and divine alignment can survive. The woman who targeted your beauty will now watch your beauty multiply. The woman who targeted your strength will now witness your elevation. The woman who targeted your spirit will now see you walk in divine authority she can no longer mimic or drain. You are free. You are restored. You are rising into the light that was always yours. Type I am delivered by truth in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 1000 is now active. Before we step into the closing seal of this journey, like this message, share it with someone who may be under a similar spiritual attack. Comment your agreement and subscribe so you remain under these prophetic coverings and revelations. Beloved soul, now that the truth has been unveiled, hear this with clarity. When you support this mission, you help pull thousands more out of the same spiritual traps the enemy tried to use against you. Your giving becomes a weapon in the hands of heaven, a seed that shatters darkness and lifts others into revelation. The word declares that those who sow into God's work shall reap an overflow, and today that promise is alive and moving toward you. I feel this strongly. If they honor the light, I will cover their house with protection. This is not a donation. It is an act of spiritual authority, a declaration that you stand with the mission of exposing hidden attacks and guiding souls into clarity. Whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your offering becomes a torch in the hands of God. May every giver receive multiplied protection, multiplied blessings, and multiplied elevation. Move now, beloved. Seal this revelation with your action.